Welcome to the Impressive Human Show, brought to you by Nagging Panda. In the Impressive Human Show, we talk to impressive humans who embody a mix of business, motivation, entrepreneurship, leadership, and lifestyle. In today's Impressive Human Show, we talk to Mark Robinson. He is a wonderful bear of a man. He has competed and won world titles in many disciplines. Mark has competed in wrestling, weightlifting, cage fighting, sumo wrestling, strongman, and the list goes on and on. He is now an excellent instructor and runs his own gym for both personal training and combative arts. We talk to Mark about it all. About our sponsor, Nagging Panda. Nagging Panda wants you to get paid on time, every time. If you or your business supply a product or service before receiving payment, then hashtag automate the nag. Nagging Panda is for you. Ask yourself, how much time and energy do you or your staff spend chasing down customers for late payment? Nagging Panda can save you all the headache. It's so easy because it's plug and play to have Nagging Panda remind and nag for payment through SMS, email, or actual phone call. Say goodbye to awkward conversations. Nagging Panda is everything you need in one place. Create your invoice on Nagging Panda or connect your accounting software and let Nagging Panda take it from there. Get paid faster by sending customers the Nagging Panda pay button. And if you need, use the built-in panel of debt collectors. Oh yes, and it works for quotes too. Try before you buy. Enjoy a no credit card required 30-day free trial. Sign up today at naggingpanda.com. Uncle Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Ilan.
It's so great to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
It's actually, funnily enough, such a wonderful experience for me because I've known you since I was a kid. I mean, I was in my teens. I've grown up with you. And the one thing that always stands out for me is you've done so many amazing things. And for me, not enough people know about them. So I'm very excited to have this opportunity to tell people about what you've achieved. I actually want to start because even for me, when I go look for you online and in the world of the internet, there's not enough material. Tell people what it is, what you've done. I mean, you've got so many titles and championships in your history. Let's go through some of them. I know sumo, I know there's wrestling, but tell us some, and some from before. Strongman, tell us.
Well, I mean, look, obviously, Ilan, I come from a family of martial artists.
Yeah.
You know, my grandfather pioneered judo in this country.
Right.
So, you know, I started judo at the age of 4. And, you know, obviously competed as a kid in all the little provincial tournaments and things like that. And then I got into the national team when I was in the army.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, at that point in time, South Africa was not allowed to compete internationally because of apartheid, etc.
Right.
So there wasn't much international competitions that you could participate in. So I started weight training for rugby at school, and I showed a leaning towards strength sports as well, and that's how I got involved with the powerlifting. And at that point in time, we were allowed to compete internationally, and ultimately I won the World Powerlifting Championships in Pescara, Italy in 1990.
In Italy?
In Italy, yeah.
Yeah.
Then in 94, we were readmitted into the Olympic Games. And that's when I started my passion for grappling again.
Yeah.
And judo at that point in time wasn't unified, so they didn't send a team because it wasn't a unified sport in South Africa yet.
Okay.
So I started amateur wrestling, and that's where my path led me to amateur wrestling, and won the African Championships, went into the national team. And that particular Olympics, we qualified, and myself and Willem, because we were in the wrong color, we weren't taken. And I was invited to the Sumo World Championships, and that's how my sumo started. And obviously, as you know, all the same sort of attributes cross over between one grappling distance to another. It's about balance and off-balancing someone else.
Yeah. Especially
in a standing situation. So, it was easy for me to pick up, and ultimately I won the World Championships in sumo wrestling.
So we've just started this thing, and so far we've said powerlifting champion, sumo champion, a judo champion. I mean, for you, it's everything that you touch. Like when it becomes a physical combat sport, it's you were born for this.
Yeah, and as I said, I mean, I did it from the age of 4, so it was in my blood, so to speak.
And definitely, given that the family history.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about the sumo, because I don't know if people will see it, and we're going to try and find that picture. Otherwise, I must try and get it from you. Is that one of you in the sumo gear fighting? It was, I think, Emmanuel Yarborough.
Correct.
And I mean, that was a monster of a man. Even you looked small compared
look,
to
I mean, so we went over as a team, and that was in 96, to the World Championships. And they were obviously trying to promote sumo across the world. So they had about, I think, 33 countries there. And, we were assigned a student from the Japanese university to look after each team.
Yeah.
And South Africa, the previous year, hadn't done anything. So I think this poor guy thought he'd been given the lemon team. Anyway, so I fought in the open class, so there's no weight classes.
Yes.
Because there was, I think, an under 85, under 115, and then obviously the open class.
Yeah.
And
what were you weighing at the time?
I was about 135 kilos.
And I mean, that's a serious number to weigh and walk around at.
Well, yeah, but when you're fighting against guys of 180 plus,
it's small.
You're small.
Yeah.
So quickly did I realize that obviously I had to use other attributes besides my weight.
Yes.
And become the gladiator. So, using lateral movement to get out the way of these big, heavy guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, the tournament progressed, and I think I must have had about 16 fights over the course of the day, and one was kept winning. And as the day progressed, eventually we got to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and this little Japanese student that was now allocated to the team suddenly now became very important to him, and now he started giving me some advice. Anyway, got into the final against Emmanuel Yarborough.
Yeah,
and along the way I fought a lot of good European Greco-Roman wrestling champions, world judo champions. So it was a good path for me to follow.
Yeah, a real test on your way up.
A real test on the way up, and started gaining better and better, more experience. It was done in their national arena, because sumo wrestling is their national sport.
Yes.
And they've got a big arena called the Ragu Gokan, which is there where they do all their sumo matches.
Yeah.
It's a massive stadium, and it was awesome. And it's done on clay.
Right.
So, it was a whole different vibe for me.
Yes.
And you wear this giant nappy.
Yeah.
As a Westerner, it's a bit uncomfortable, but I suppose as you go along, you're all in it, so you do it together.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got into the final against this guy, and he was 7 foot tall, 320 kilograms, which is 700 pounds.
320 kilograms.
Yeah. So needless.
Small, Brassy.
So needless to say, the advice from the little Japanese student that was helping, he said, "Mark, son, no forward, side, meaning don't take this guy on forward, because he's going to take you out of the ring. Obviously, he's more than double my weight."
Yeah.
So obviously, I understood that I had to use my speed and my agility to help myself move out the way. And that's exactly what happened. He came in at me, and I moved laterally and used his force against him.
Yes.
And that's how I eventually took him out.
Unbelievable
and
thing
won,
that. And for you, when you think about that, I mean, are you still proud of everything inside of that story? I mean, for me, it's unbelievable to listen to. And Bryce, it's probably the first time you've heard it.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's an incredible, you get the goosebumps here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, look, I had no expectations going into the tournament. I just, obviously had a wealth of experience with judo and wrestling. So, I understood the principles of keeping my balance and off-balancing someone else.
Yes.
And those obviously held me in good stead
in
the sumo. And it's very explosive, and there's, a lot of power and strength required in addition to technique. So it suited me.
Yes.
And, I didn't expect to win, but, as my confidence grew and the day went on, when I got to the finals, I thought, this guy's, I'm going to take him out. I've got this,
Jeez, what an amazing thing to achieve.
It was awesome, yeah.
And it was then that you were awarded the whatever level Dan it was. Was it at that competition?
Yes. Well, obviously, I was a white belt in
Yes.
terms of a sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
And now I've beaten the 5th Dans and and I've won the world championships.
Yes.
So immediately on the platform, when I got my medal, they graded me to third dan.
Yeah, and rightly so. I mean, it's a great thing for their sport as well to welcome you and to say, you've beaten our guys here. We recognize you. So, and I mean, an amazing story. Must have been an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, it was.
So, and then now we talk about Abu Dhabi, and there you're a champion as well.
Well, funny enough, because I'd won the World Sumo Wrestling Championships,
yes,
they had just started the first Abu Dhabi World Championships, Grappling World Championships, in 1998.
Yes.
So in 99, because I won the ESPN World Championships in Atlantic City in 98. Also sumo wrestling. And it was a whole program on ESPN. They did a whole thing on me. But I was invited, because of I'd won, I was invited to Abu Dhabi, to the World Submission Wrestling Championships in Abu Dhabi. And that's how I got to go there.
Okay.
And then the experiences there were very interesting as well.
Well, there you had a gauntlet to run through and to get to the top and all those things. Tell us about it.
Yeah, look, the very first time I competed in Abu Dhabi, I got to the quarterfinal. And the guy was fighting in the quarterfinal. And the actual, Willem, he was with me. He came
I think tell people about Willem. They wouldn't have met him.
Well, look, Willem Pitter and I've got back right from when I started wrestling.
Yes.
And Willem's an incredible human being as well. I mean, he's now 63 and he won the South African Nationals 22 years in a row.
Unbelievable.
and currently now he's 63 and he's won the veterans in his age category for 15 years.
Yeah, he really is an incredible guy.
So he's just amazing.
Yeah, and I've rolled with him. I call him the captain. And
then are you Tennille?
I'm the tiny one.
Captain and Tennille?
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, so Willem was sitting next to me, and we were about to go and warm up for the quarterfinals against a guy called Sean Alvarez. And Sean Alvarez was a representative of the Abu Dhabi Combat Club. Right. And the next thing is one of the Sheikh's assistants came and sat next to me and said, "Can I talk to you?" So I said, "Sure." Now Willem's sitting next to me as well. Yeah. And he says, "No, the Sheikh is betting on these fights with his friends, and he wants you to take a dive for $60,000. He wants you to lose the fight."
Okay.
So now I'm sitting there, and it just felt like someone had taken an ice bucket and thrown it over my head. Yeah. I was in total disbelief and shock, as you can imagine. And I looked at Willem, and I looked at him, and I said, "No, tell him no." And I said, "You can have your competition. I'm getting out of here. If this is how you guys run a tournament, I'm out." Right. So anyway, there was a guy called Guy Nevens who was the tournament organizer, and he actually was the Sheikh's right-hand man. Mm. And it's actually Sheikh Taknoun, who's now the president of the UAE. Okay. So needless to say, I shat myself. Yeah. And Willem and I got into a taxi and buggered off back to the hotel.
Quick as you could.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the next morning, they came and gave me the first my prize money.
Oh, okay.
So just as an apology to me, but anyway, I just shut my mouth, and that was it. And then I ultimately won it in 2001. Okay. They didn't want me to, and they hated me, but I did.
So you went back, competed from the top, and no one offered you money?
Nah.
Okay. So and that experience, you fought some top names in that competition.
Yeah, I did, yeah. So, a lot of the UFC fighters were fighting in the tournament, guys like Tito Ortiz, Vitor Belfort. Yes. Guys like that came across and competed.
And the fight with Vitor, I think that's actually available on YouTube. Yes. So if people want to go and see, I mean, you were, again, you're no small individual now, but then you were much bigger.
Yeah, I was about 135 kilos, the same sort of weight as when I was doing the sumo. Mm. And we fought in heavyweights, which was 99 kilos over. I think Vitor was about 105 kilos in those years. Yes. And he was a slippery customer.
Okay. I've seen the fight. It was a hectic thing to try and get through all of that. But
also being a bit lighter, he could move, Yeah. And it's the lighter guys, they're slippery.
Definitely. And it wasn't rash guards weren't a thing in those days. So it was as soon as you start to sweat, it's very slippery.
I was wearing a rash guard.
You were?
Yeah, he wasn't. Okay. But that's also a funny story because I'd moved to America on a promise from a guy that offered me a job there, and I moved across there with my family, and I was working in this facility, and the whole facility went bankrupt.
Oh.
Because he was doing
Whatever he was doing.
things not very well.
Right.
So I was based in a situation where I was in America and I had a work visa for his facility only.
Yes.
So I couldn't really work anywhere else. So I had to start doing my own personal training at a facility and keep my own training. So the venue that we trained at, we could no longer. So I had to go and find a venue. And the only time they would allow me to use it was over lunchtime, because they taught classes in the morning and at night. So every day I had to drive up to this facility at lunchtime, and I had those Hungarian guys trained with me every single day. And that's how I prepared myself for the Abu Dhabi that I won.
Okay.
So I had phenomenal training partners, and as I said, they worked at a pizzeria. So they'd finish their lunch shift, and they'd shoot and train with me for 2 hours, and then they'd go back. I'd go home and then go back to make pizza.
I hope everyone showered in between. Otherwise, it's an interesting pizza.
So so I had to pay rent there to use their facility for those 2 hours a day.
Okay.
And that's how I got through it.
Must have been a bit scary having been in America.
And in addition to which, I had to win the tournament to win the prize money in order for me to relocate back with my family.
Right, to be able to
get
airfares
and the whole story. So in my mind, I wasn't going to lose, and I would rather die.
Yeah.
That was my mindset.
Okay. Win or die.
So it was a nice experience. The guy, Ricardo Magali, was also coaching me.
Yeah.
He was with me, and it was a brilliant tournament that we enjoyed.
Right.
I also had a hard path to get up. As I said, I fought Vito Balfour, I fought Rico Rodriguez. Rico Rodriguez also was a previous UFC heavyweight champion.
But how does it come? And this is something I find just amazing. You've got this incredible history of what you've done. And I mean, your CV is probably very hard to rival. But put you in South Africa and in a place where not many people are exposed to all the amazing things that you've done. You should be in the States charging thousands of dollars an hour to have time with you.
Look, unfortunately, in South Africa specifically, because we were isolated for so many years, from like 1963, we weren't allowed to compete internationally. So the focus in South Africa was on your cricket, tennis, soccer, rugby, of course. And that was where the money and the fame came, where your other sports, your Olympic sports, were really looked over, yeah.
Okay.
So there was no money or anything in those sports. So that's essentially why.
Right. Because it's to me, when I look, it's a mismatch. I mean, the things that you've achieved and like the access to you, it's just an incredible thing that people should be accessing you much, much more. As a student of yours, I've certainly been lucky to learn and take as much knowledge as I can, but you just have such a dynamic range to all of the stuff that you've done. In your run-up in coaching some of the fighters that are around today, anything that stands out for you, any lessons that were a standout lesson that you've tried to pass on to some of your fighters in recent years?
Look, one thing you can't teach is the will and desire to win the heart of a fighter, in other words.
Yes.
You can teach them technique, you can get them conditioned, but it has to come from within them. It has to be that self-motivation, that self-belief, and that willingness to die rather than lose, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that you can't teach, and that's what I've learned. So, you can't replicate that. It's either the guy has it or he doesn't.
And for you, was it always there for you? Is it part of nature and nurture? Was it as a kid, were you always like that in everything you did?
Yes, I mean, I think, as I said, it's part of you. You either have it or you don't, and you know that youngster. I say he's not such a youngster, Richard Mazaham. He has that instinctive fighting spirit.
Yes,
Tel Bugai has the same fighting spirit.
Sure,
you can't teach that.
Yeah,
it's there.
Yeah,
it's instinctively there, and if you don't have it, you can have all the attributes in the world, physical attributes, but if you don't have the mindset and the heart, you're never going to be a champion.
Yeah, then fighting's just not your path.
No.
Okay. And have you ever had to have those uncomfortable discussions with somebody who wanted to fight, but you said, listen, buddy, you just don't have the heart for it?
Yeah, I don't want to name names, obviously.
Yeah, sure. No,
but yeah, absolutely. And as I said, the guy's got phenomenal phenomenal attributes, but he doesn't have the mindset or the heart for it.
Right.
And then you get guys that are actually mediocre, but they have such a desire to win and not to lose, and they've got such a heart that it's much better to have. I'd rather have 10 guys like that than one guy with all the potential in the world with no desire, no heart.
Yes, definitely. I understand that. And then, so in your journey, has being an instructor given you sort of that pride and that ability to say, I'm giving back? Does it fill you with that pride and joy? How have you enjoyed that transition from being the champion yourself to trying to coach and teach champions?
I think it's very rewarding and fulfilling to impart knowledge to people, to see them grow as humans, to see their body improve, to see them getting better. That's the reward you get. Plus, in addition to which, when you're teaching someone, you teach yourself.
Yes.
So you're reteaching yourself every single day.
Yes.
And you become better.
Definitely. Teaching definitely would do that.
So that's what I find. And it's, as I said, it's a cliche, but they say do something you enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
So to me, this is my passion, this is my love, and going to work every day is a pleasure for me.
Sure. It also helps that you good at missing the punches and not getting hit in the head all the time. When you look to the MMA scene and the fighting scene in general today, the level that athletes have gone to is just an incredible space. Everyone is good at everything at the top of the game. What do you think about what's happening? How do you think South Africa is doing? There's some amazing fighters coming out of here now. What do you think the journey looks like?
Yeah, look, obviously, I think South Africa, we way behind in certain aspects. For me, wrestling, amateur wrestling, is a huge base to have taking into fighting.
Yes.
Whether it's jiu-jitsu or MMA, if you don't have a good wrestling base, it's very difficult to get it. And fighting starts on the feet.
Right.
It doesn't start off on your back.
Yes.
And no matter how good you are at jiu-jitsu, when you're lying on your back, you're getting punched in the face. And I'd rather be on top than on the bottom, me personally. So I think there are still certain areas where there's a lack, and especially in South Africa, because our wrestling standard is not great right now. We don't even win medals in African championships, never mind world championships or Olympic level.
Right.
That's not even existent. So that's where America has a massive pool of amateur wrestling talent.
Yes.
And funny enough, I was just listening to a podcast with that guy, Nicky Rodriguez. I don't know if you know who he is.
Right, yep.
He started off, he came from an amateur wrestling background. And he was bouncing at a nightclub to earn extra money. And he started an argument with one of the other bouncers of which was the better discipline to have, jiu-jitsu or wrestling.
Right.
So this guy invited him down to the jiu-jitsu club. So he went down there, and these guys weren't black belts and brown belts, but they were purple belt levels. And he ran through the lot of them just with his wrestling base. He had never done submission wrestling in his life.
Right.
But, in wrestling, the takedowns are good and their ground base is excellent.
Yes.
And also getting someone's back in wrestling, you score points. So he was very good at getting people's back and controlling them.
Okay.
Obviously he didn't have the technical skills, submission skills, but he had enough to take on those purple belts. And then from there, within 3 months, he won the West Coast trials for Abu Dhabi, and eventually went to Abu Dhabi and came second in his first ADCC. And that just shows you
the base.
The base.
The base.
And he said the guys don't have a takedown set. So he says they can't take you down, and you can control whether you want to take them down or not.
Okay.
So, and obviously now he trained with John Danahy and the Death Squad, and obviously now his technique has improved dramatically, and now he's split away from them, and he started up his own little thing with Craig Jones, and I think they're called the B team or something like that.
Yes, okay, of course.
Yeah.
Now, and looking at the way that those guys in the Death Squad and as a coach, and John Danahy as a coach, the way they've broken it up into pieces and really put sort of a science to the whole thing and made it really specific at true levels of detail. The way they coach it, it's amazing, right?
Well, what's fascinating to me is jiu-jitsu is about knowledge and skill.
Yeah.
It's not about your physical attributes as much. So if you look at the podium finish at a jiu-jitsu tournament, there's no one specific body type that you can say, right, that's the specific body part that makes you the best jiu-jitsu athlete.
Yes.
Whereas in 100-meter sprints, there's a very specific body type that's going to win, right?
Yes, you know what you're looking for.
Where in jiu-jitsu, it's knowledge and skill-based.
Right.
So with knowledge and skill, you can overcome much bigger, stronger opponents. And that was the whole concept behind jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
It's jiu-jitsu translated in English is gentle art. So it's about someone that's weaker and smaller with skill and technique overcoming a bigger, stronger opponent.
Right. And
so that's fascinating. So the technical side of things is just phenomenal. And these guys' technique, they've taken it to a whole new level. And especially now with John Dennehy now, because he identified 2 holes in jiu-jitsu. One was the leg locks, and the second one was takedowns. So now he's covered the leg lock, and now pretty much if you watch the top tournaments, the guys are just attacking legs. Because he says, why do you neglect 50% of the body?
Yes.
You need to attack the legs as much as the upper body.
Definitely.
So the sport's evolved a lot, and it's just phenomenal to see. Secondly, work ethic. I was watching a program on a little group of guys. It's called Daisy Fresh. Daisy Fresh, it was a laundry that this guy saw had been standing empty for a number of months.
Right.
And he went and he said, listen, can we rent this? And he did. So they paid a minimal rent, put a mat in there, and all these youngsters started training there, and they basically slept there, ate there, and trained there 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And now 7 years later, they're producing phenomenal champions through that work ethic and that continual train concept.
Yeah. It takes over everything that they do, right? It becomes their air. They breathe it.
So you can take anybody, and if you make them train 8 hours a day for 7 years, they're going to be...
That'd be pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, but like you say, if they don't have the heart for it, it's not their thing.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. But you're going to soon find out they're going to get weeded out, because that's not an easy life, eh?
No.
Eat, sleep, train.
Terrible.
Sleep, train. 7-8 hours a day.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
That's hard.
Hard
life.
And these guys have nothing. They're literally living on food stamps.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, now that they're starting to compete, and there are competitions now in grappling that you can start winning decent money, $10,000, $20,000. Guy like Gordon Rana and he's opened up his own school with John Dennehy. He's doing very well.
Yes.
But it's a process that he's followed. It's been a long journey.
Yeah, to get there. Oh, tough things. Eh? And so for you, I mean, you've had similar experiences. I mean, listening and learning about your story in America, where it was win to make enough money to get home.
Yeah.
I mean, a fighter's life is it's no walk in the park.
No, it's no walk in the park. And especially mixed martial arts, you're getting punched in the face, getting your head kicked in.
Yeah.
At the beginning for very little money, sometimes nothing.
Yes, just to prove.
To get to the next step.
Now, you've competed at the top levels. In fact, when UFC was still in its very, very early days.
Yes.
I can't remember when exactly, but the experience of having been in the cage and fighting in that style, when you look back at it, what do you think?
Oh, look, at that specific time, my whole background is a grappling background. I didn't have much striking experience at all. So, the sport's evolved now where most of the fighters, you can't just have one discipline and go into a mixed martial arts event.
No.
Because they're going to find your weakness and keep you in that weakness, right?
Yeah.
So striking has to become part of what you do.
Definitely. That's why I was
striking,
saying.
Wrestling,
the guys are
jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
they've
They're
evolved
amazing
now.
athletes.
They are true mixed martial artists.
Yes. These guys, I mean, they're so far into what the human body can do. It's not normal.
Coupled to which they're so skilled and they're so conditioned that they can take so much punishment that I believe that they're going to have to change the rules in the future, because these guys are getting too much punishment, and it's going to have effects later in life.
Yeah, the knock-on effects on the brain.
The knock-on effects going to come. And I think they're going to have to start looking at changing things, bringing in more rules, because in the future, you're going to have a lot of guys that are not very good in the head.
Yeah, I think a little bit of
Lot
punch
of brain
problems.
damage,
Yeah,
yeah.
shame.
Yeah.
The and for you, so now, given where you are, all the knowledge you have, what do you still want to do? What, like, besides for running your gym and doing what you're doing for yourself, is there a bigger picture for you? The amount of information and knowledge that you have to transfer, it's unlimited almost. What do you want to do next? What's that next step?
Yeah, look, I just for me, like I said to you, it's my passion, and it's something that I love, and it's just something that I want to give back to people, and be it teaching a woman how to defend herself, or training a guy to be a competitive athlete at a grappling tournament or a fight, or just the average man, just giving him skills to protect himself if he's attacked on the street or whatever.
Yes.
That's what I do. And, for me, training is my therapy.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what
I think
keeps
for a lot
me
of people.
sane.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to try and fight the old man out as long as I can.
Right.
As Clint Eastwood says, every day you've got to fight that old man out.
I like that. That's actually a great one.
And I tell the youngsters, and I say this to them sincerely. I say, when you're young, you got to look after that old man, so that when you're old, the young man looks after you, meaning that how you eat and how you train when you're young has benefits for you when you're old. Don't do that, and you're going to pay the price when you're old.
Yes.
I'm a very strong believer in the concept of seed time and harvest. So whatever you put in, you're going to get out. Put nothing in, nothing comes back.
Yeah.
And that comes with health too.
For sure.
And for me, health is everything in your life.
Definitely. Without it,
you have nothing.
There's
you can have
no-
all the
all the
money,
money in the
you
world,
can
yeah.
have anything. On Steve Jobs' deathbed, what did he say? I spent too much time chasing money and not enough time on the things that I should have been focused on: family, friends, health, things like that. And now that I'm sick, all the money in the world can't take my sickness away.
yes.
And
Yeah.
that's I don't want to have that realization.
Yeah, so do it now.
Do it now.
I really like how you explain it. So just jumping back, because there's probably a couple things that I'm missing here, and I want to touch on them. When you did your powerlifting, I mean, you've done crazy things like pulling trucks and all of those type of things.
Sure, that's strongman.
Strongman,
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm saying powerlifting because I'm just putting all of the power into it. So the strength stuff, you've pulled trucks, you've had the bench press records. Tell us about that.
Well, powerlifting and weightlifting are two separate disciplines.
Right.
Powerlifting is 3 disciplines. It's a squat, it's a bench press, and a deadlift. So like I said, I started doing weight training when I was at school for rugby.
Yeah.
So I was playing rugby at high school to get stronger for rugby. And I really took to it and enjoyed it. So when I came out of the army, there were these Lebanese guys, Rodney Anthony and his brother Andrew Anthony. They were powerlifters. And their cousin trained with me, Damon Rami. And long story short, they introduced me to Rodney and they said, no, listen, why don't I compete in a powerlifting competition, which I did. And I enjoyed it and I did well. And from there, that's how I got into powerlifting. Okay. And from the powerlifting, Stan Schmidt at the time, who was a family friend and a big, him and my father, main karate man in South Africa, his son-in-law, Keith Geier, had just come back from America. And he bought a tape back of the World's Strongest Man, the 1982 World's Strongest Man, which Bill Casimir had won. And he gave it to me to watch. And it blew my mind at what these guys were doing, lifting these massive logs, pulling trucks, etc., etc. So we set up, with Rodney, we set up the first South African strongman competition.
Okay.
Way back. And that's the first one I entered and won.
Okay. And inside of that, I mean, for the novices and the guys who just watch it, I mean, you pulled a truck, picked up logs. Tell us, what did you do in there? I mean, it's awesome stuff.
But obviously, you have a strength base from the powerlifting.
Yeah.
And that manifests well as a good carryover into strongman. So you're pulling trucks over a certain time, you're lifting logs. The log is just, it's more spectacular and more identifiable to people. Say, geez, like that's heavy.
Yeah, because you can
cars,
identify with
lifting cars, flipping cars,
Did you flip cars?
Yeah, yeah. We had we had to flip 3 cars in time, things like that.
It's just incredible. I mean, so for you, surely, even just this as a trip down memory lane, it's an amazing thing to listen to about your life, what you've achieved.
Yeah, and fortunately, at that point in time, in South Africa, there were guys like Johan van Zyl and Eugene Nation and Burton Haupt, and they all came from an athletic background. So Johan van Zyl was a decathlete, but he was very good at hammer throw, shot put. So they also had a good strength background and very athletic. So we had a very competitive group of guys to push each other. And, I believe iron sharpens iron,
Yep.
It pushes you. The better they are, the better you get.
Definitely.
And so we pushed each other. And then Gerard Badenhorst came on the scene, and he came from a weightlifting background. And then him and I really had big loggerhead competitions over the years. And I truly believe at that time we were the best in the world because of the two of us. We were so competitive with each other.
Yeah,
there was
pushing
no
each
one
other.
else. Yeah. Yeah.
So the experience of all of this stuff, how would you say to somebody, go try one of them? Would you say to someone, try all of them? Would you give advice to stay away from them? What do you think? I mean, it's what you've done is seriously
No, listen,
tough.
it's hard, and it's a hard road, but it depends where your passion is. I mean, obviously if your passion's in there, then you must do it. I loved it and I was passionate about it, and that's why I did it, and I enjoyed it. And I've got no regrets. Maybe my back does, but the rest
My body hurts.
my body hurts, because I've used it. But I have no regrets, and I really enjoyed competing and traveling all over the world, and all the experiences I had that came with that.
And now, so one of the things you've said is the army. Now, in the army, I mean, a guy like you, surely you attracted a lot of attention.
Well, in the army, they were very sports orientated. So if you did well at sport, they looked after you.
Sure.
So, I was fortunate to stay in Pretoria.
Yep.
And because I'd won the Defence Force judo trials, they kept me there. And I ran the sports on one of the bases. I was in the Air Force. And I ran the whole sport. And then on Wednesdays, I used to go and teach judo. And Friday afternoons, I used to go and do self-defense with the PTRs in Voortrekker. So I actually had a lot of fun in my army. And I was doing something again that I loved.
Sure. Otherwise, if you didn't do so well, you end up scrubbing floors.
In Palabora or Timbuktu, who knows?
Yeah. Okay. So again, a great experience and driven by all that ability.
Yeah.
So when we summarize this amazing career, we look to all the different sports and we bring it back and we say, you need the heart and you need the drive and you need the passion. Inside of that drive and the passion, there's family. Because you're saying in America, what drove you to win was that you've got to look after you and your family. So now the motivation and that inspiration to win can come from a bunch of different places. So somewhere out there is a guy watching this who's down on his luck and he's not doing great. What do you say to him?
Well, I just say that you must believe in yourself and back yourself. And obviously it's important that you have the backing of your family and the support of your family. I'm very for me, if my home life is good, I can take on anything. But if I've discord in my home life, it manifests in everything.
Yes.
I'm not a happy chappy.
Domino effect.
It's very important that your home life is secure and that you have the support and encouragement from the people around you that love you, your family, your wife, your kids,
Definitely.
your mother, father, whatever. It's very important. And never give up, and just keep pushing, keep pushing.
Yeah, keep pushing the envelope. I think The Rock was a good example of that, actually.
Yeah. Stan Schmidt had a saying. He said, to embark on the road to gain, the password friend is train, man, train. So you can use that in a relationship. You can use that in a business sense. You can use it in a sports sense. You can use it in a study sense.
Yes.
You're only going to get out what you put in.
Definitely.
And you can achieve anything through hard work and consistency.
Definitely.
Because if you don't have the work ethic and you don't have the consistent work ethic, you're not going to get anywhere in life.
100%.
Nothing comes for nothing.
Exactly.
There's a price to pay. And if you want to pay the price, you can achieve.
I agree.
Anything.
I agree.
You want.
Sure. And so, so talking of payments, so let's jump into the Nagging Panda section of this. And this is interesting to me. Has somebody had the guts to not pay you?
Yeah, look, and I think you've spoken about this before. We're all human beings, and sometimes people forget to pay. They
Sure.
might not intentionally not want to pay you, but as you know, life's busy and things happen.
Yeah,
and,
you can forget.
and people
Stuff
forget.
happens, yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
But has it ever,
absolutely.
just out of interest, has it happened that somebody said, "No, stuff you, not pay"?
No, but as I said, it's happened that people.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
It happens that people pay you late, or they don't pay you, and they forget to pay you. That happens. Sure.
Yes, sure. But I mean,
All the
that's
time.
that's an honest mistake, and
Yeah.
people will rectify it.
Yeah.
So,
But generally speaking, people, if you've given them a service, they're going to pay you. They're honourable. They want to pay you.
sure. So something that's quite interesting is we've been fortunate enough to have quite an array of people sit in the studio with us and in that chair. And of the fighters, no one said, no one has ever said that they didn't pay. Normally forget. But from the business aspect, no, we've got bad debt and we catch it up. It's a different environment. But let's ask you. So that discussion with people when it comes to, listen, you haven't paid me, you forgot to pay. Does it feel awkward sometimes?
No, it's very awkward. As you know, it's very awkward to ask people for money.
It's just,
Well,
even if
everybody.
you know them well, it's
Yeah.
just, it's a little bit awkward. So
Yeah.
with Nagging Panda, the goal is to go and automate the process to
And take
remove the
that
awkwardness.
out of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, and you don't need to say yes to these things. We always encourage people to tell what they think. But if we put Nagging Panda into your world and it was automated that your client or whether it's customer was reminded automatically and had a button to click and pay you, beneficial in your world?
No, absolutely. And as I said, it would take that awkwardness out of
Yeah, so you don't have to have
me
it.
nagging for the money.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I'd rather have a nagging panda than a nagging Mark.
Definitely.
But okay, interesting that it's even for you, it's useful to you. But I really do find it interesting that in the martial arts, it's not so much a bad debt issue. In the business world, there's obviously a different relationship with people.
Yeah.
And it could also be that, people have so much respect for you and other martial arts that they don't mess around in that world.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, and especially with me, most of my clients are private clients.
Yes.
That I have a personal relationship, and I feel very blessed in the clients that I have.
Yeah.
They're amazing people, and they're a blessing in my life. And most of them have been with me for many, many years, and you being one of them.
Yeah, when I looked at us,
You
I
know?
mean, you've known me since I was a teenager, so
Tel's been with me 20 years. It's
Yeah.
a long, long time. I've seen him grow up from the age of 14 to now he's 34.
yeah.
I've seen him get married and become a young man.
Yeah, and for all those who don't know who Tal is, Tal Bugai, so we've known him a long time, and you grew him as an athlete, and he
Yeah.
became probably the best there is in his category in South Africa.
I'd say so, absolutely. He's won essays. He's chosen a different path in life. He's a civil engineer, and he's got his own business now, and he just does this for enjoyment and fun.
Yeah, but he really is of that level.
And as I said, he has the mindset and the heart of a fighter.
Yeah,
More importantly.
incredible stuff. Uncle Mark, that's what I call Mark, hey Brasi, because he doesn't like to be called sensei or something like that. So rather uncle, just safer. But no, so Mark, thank you so much for being on the Impressive Human
It's been
Show.
my pleasure, and I've enjoyed it.
And you really are an impressive human. The only thing I can say is that we need more people to know just how impressive you are. So I'm going to do my utmost to make sure lots of people listen to this, because I want your phone to ring nonstop to say, teach me. I really think that
Appreciate
you've
that.
got all of that. So thanks for being with us. And Brycey, please fade to black.